These may just look like pretty little rocks, but they're actually the end of a 1.1 billion year story. I'm in Minnesota, and the lakes up here have an abundance of beautiful agates. But why? Where'd they come from, and how'd they form? To answer these questions, we'll travel back through glaciers, lava flows, and ancient oceans. So let's get started. Agates are Minnesota's official state gemstone, and if you spend any time at Lake Superior or any of the smaller lakes up here, you'll certainly stumble across a few. They're known for their vibrant banding and rich colors. But what exactly are they? In terms of composition, they're made up of silica, silicon dioxide, just like glass, quartz, chert, and so many other minerals. Agates are a form of microcrystalline quartz called chalcedony. They're essentially just banded chalcedony. But if you've seen my recent video on what gives rocks and minerals their color, you know that pure silica is colorless, like glass. It's only the impurities that give silica minerals, like quartz and agates, their color. Most of the agates up here have beautiful red bands in them, which represents trace amounts of iron. So that's what agates are made of, but how do they form, and how do those impurities get in there? In very simple terms, agates form by the deposition of silica, silicon dioxide, in gas bubbles of volcanic rocks. So let's break that down. First, as lava erupts from a volcano, it cools so rapidly at Earth's surface that sometimes it traps gas bubbles inside the solid rock that we call vesicles. And typically, the rock that's forming at the surface from cooling lava is basalt. So we end up calling this vesicular basalt, essentially basalt that cooled and crystallized from really bubbly lava. And initially these vesicles are just empty, or they may contain a small amount of volcanic gas or mineral debris. But later on, they become the cavities where agates will grow. Oftentimes, volcanic regions will experience long-term hydrothermal activity after eruptions, either from residual volcanic heat or from later burial and geothermal heating. Hydrothermal activity is where rainwater or groundwater seeps into the fractured volcanic rock and becomes enriched in dissolved silica by the leaching of the surrounding volcanic ash and rocks. But here's the key. This silica-rich fluid eventually reprecipitates or deposits the silica in cavities, like vesicles, as it percolates through the rock. And over millions of years, these vesicles get filled in layer by layer with silica, growing in concentric layers inward from the vesicle wall, following the shape of that cavity. And each layer records slight changes in the water's chemistry, pH, and temperature, resulting in the classic banding that defines agates. And fun fact, if the agate layers don't end up filling the void completely, the center is left hollow, which sometimes then allows macroscopic quartz crystals to grow in it, and this can become a geode. But if agates require volcanic activity to form, where are all these volcanoes now? Well, this volcanic activity actually occurred around 1.1 billion years ago when the continent began rifting or spreading apart, creating the mid-continent rift, stretching over 2,000 kilometers in length. And during this period of rifting, huge volumes of lava came up through fractures and faults in Earth's crust, pouring out across what is now the Lake Superior region. As the lava cooled, silica-rich fluids precipitated agates in the vesicles of these newly formed basalts. Fast forward from 1.1 billion to around 2.6 million years ago, so quite a long time, this brings us to the Pleistocene Ice Age. This ice age has been characterized by glacial and interglacial cycles, where massive continental glaciers have advanced and retreated over this landscape, scouring up the bedrock, including those old volcanic rocks that held agates. These glaciers crushed and carried chunks of agate-bearing basalt, scattering it across the landscape. And eventually the basalt weathered away, leaving behind just the agate fragments and other fragments of more resistant material. And the lakes themselves formed in the depressions carved by those same ice sheets. As the ice melted, they left behind kettle lakes, moraines, and outwash plains. Perfect places for water to collect and agates to settle. And I talk way more about glacial landscapes in past videos on my channel, which I'll link below if you're interested. But agates aren't the only treasures in the lakes up here. You might also come across something like this, a Petoskey stone. These are fossil corals. They're usually actually associated with Michigan lakes, but glacial transport carried some of them here as well. These Petoskey stones are typically rugose corals from the Devonian period over 350 million years ago. But wait, where are the best places to go to find agates and Petoskey stones? Well, for agates, Lake Superior's North Shore is world famous. But smaller lakes like Pokegama, Mille Lacs, and Itasca are fantastic as well. And I mean, obviously there's tons of lakes up here, so you really can't go wrong. I've actually found even more agates in the smaller, lesser known lakes than I have at Superior. So you don't have to go all the way to Superior to find some great agates. And in terms of what to look for, it's kind of hard to explain in words because once you find one, your eyes kind of adjust. But most of the ones up here are reddish due to high iron content. So look for red, orange, and or white banding in a slightly translucent rock fragment that looks maybe waxy or glassy in texture. My two best pieces of advice when looking for agates are: one, if you think you found one but you're not exactly sure, you haven't found one yet. You'll know. Trust me. And two, have patience. Lots and lots of patience. And in terms of Petoskey stones, I've found these in Minnesota, but there are much better ones in Michigan. There's actually a place called Petoskey State Park in, wouldn't you know it, Petoskey, Michigan. So I highly recommend checking out Michigan. I actually haven't been able to go yet to Lake Michigan, but if you want to find some amazing fossil corals, I recommend going there. But remember, when you pick up an agate or anything else out of these lakes, you're holding something that might be over 1 billion years old. How cool is that? And let me know in the comments if you've ever found an agate or Petoskey stone and where your favorite rock hounding spot is. I'd love to go check it out. And if you want to explore the geology of Minnesota for yourself, I highly recommend checking out the Roadside Geology of Minnesota book, which takes you through not only the geology of the amazing lakes up here, but all the glacial deposits and landscapes and their ages. So I'll link it below if you're interested. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! You helping me look? What'd you find? What'd you find? Let me see. Let me see. You found a good one. Okay, well, you probably shouldn't eat rocks, though. No, Dan. Crushed and carried chunks of... Coda, no. No. All right, you do the scene with me. You do it with me, then. When the continent began rifting or spreading apart... Come here, Coda. Thank you. Come here, Finn. All right, guys. You're fired.